friend. Welcome to The Watchman and welcome to Masada. We're in the middle of the remote Judean wilderness at what's possibly the world's most famous fortress. This was the place sometime around the year AD 73 where the Jewish rebels made their final stand against the Roman Empire. It's a place that has really become a symbol of resistance to tyranny for the Jewish people. It's ultimately a tragic story, though, as you'll learn today with our great tour guide, Danny Herman, better known as Danny the Digger here in Israel. He's one of the best tour guides in all of Israel and also a renowned archaeologist. Our team here at Christians United for Israel thinks the story of Masada is still very relevant today for Israel and for you. So get ready for the journey of a lifetime as we take you on a tour through the one and only Masada. Well, Danny, what a view. We are at the amazing remains of the legendary fortress of Masada in a very remote place, but tell us why this place was so important and give us a little bit of the background and the history.
Well, first of all, topographically, this is an ideal place for humans to protect themselves. This is a rock plateau, very steep on all sides, and the surface is nearly completely flat, okay? Maybe even King David was here. The Old Testament tells us of David hiding when he's escaping from Saul. He goes from En-Gedi and then he hides in the fortresses of En-Gedi. We did find some Iron Age pottery here, but historically we know for sure that Herod is the first guy to recognize the benefits of this site and build it all up. Historians call him Herod the Great. Archaeologists like titling him as Herod the Great Builder. The guy just loved to build. And here he takes this rock plateau and he transforms it. He makes a wall all around the perimeter. And in the northern end, he makes this big and beautiful northern palace complex with a tower where we are located to monitor, okay, to protect the northern palace, storerooms, a bathhouse, and hanging against the abyss, a beautiful big palace complex in three terraces. This is Herod.
And how did Herod find this place? It's so remote, Danny. It's in the middle of nowhere, quite literally in the desert.
Yes, Josephus gives us this information. He tells us that when he is reigning in the first years, he is battling against Matithya Antigonos. In one of those conflicts, he has to flee to Nabatea. He's half Nabatean after all. And then he stops here. When the site is not built up, it's not protected, but the topography provides him protection. But there's no water, and he's dying of thirst. But at the last minute, according to Josephus, a heavy rain filled up some cavities here, and he managed to last the siege of Matithya and the Persians. And later, as king, he remembered the benefits, but also the problem of water. And he knew if you cannot solve the water supply here, this place is useless. And he solved it big time, okay? There's a whole engineering, amazing mechanism that ensured that there'll be enough water here to last a very long siege. Who knows how many people have died in the process of making this tower, for instance. But in the back, you had here all the wealth that you could expect for royalty. Fully operating bathhouse, very well preserved. 18 store halls, some of them containing pottery shards with the titulus picti, the indication of what was originally inside the jar. Well-grinded fig, a green onion, 78 apples in alcoholic sauce, and at least 13 jars had a Latin inscription indicating it's a special order from central Italy in the year correlating with 19 BCE by Reg Herod Judaic. He ordered them. Reg Herod Judaic, king of the Jews, Herod, wanted to make sure there's a bit of Chianti in case he has to spend the night.
Of course, a luxurious lifestyle, the king. Now, right now, we are standing on a watchtower.
Yes, this is the watchtower that protects the northern palace complex. Behind you, there's a moat. And Herod not only designed it to be very extravagant, but also to be very protected. As if the site doesn't provide enough protection, the northern palace complex also has layers of protection in it. Okay, Herod, through this site, we realize just how much he was paranoid which Josephus describes quite vividly. Extravagance and paranoia are the two combined elements that appear again and again, both in the historical documentation of him as well as the architectural legacy he left behind.
Well, Danny, Herod the Great was known for his palaces, and Masada is no exception. We're standing in the remains of one of King Herod's palaces.
Yes, this is the top porch, okay? The bedrooms in the back. You can imagine Herod stretching out in the morning, going out to this very balcony and enjoying this majestic view of the Judean desert. On the lower level, you had two more terraces where the middle part and the lower part of the palace were placed. A spiral hidden stairway connected all of them. That collapsed. There's none left of it. But there's still a good amount of it that is well preserved, showing mosaic floors, frescoes, you know, royalty.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yes, and this is hugging the cliff pretty tightly here,
yes.
This palace.
I wonder how many slaves died in the operation of building all of this. There must have been some scaffoldings to hold it.
Of course, and it's a steep fall.
This is Herod pushing the envelope, stretching the limits of Roman technology, something that nowhere else in the Roman Empire existed at the time.
Wow. And this was in the period of during the destruction of the Second Temple, which Jesus talked about. One day the temple, you know, will not be standing here. And these are the ashes that the rebels fled from here to Masada. They probably thought this place was impregnable. The rebels were here for a while, and according to Josephus, I believe, maybe 1,000 people here set up shop at Masada.
967 people. He gives us a certain exact number.
Wow.
I personally found a silver coin that was minted in Masada by the rebels and taken by them. The specific one I found was right next to the tower. 7 years after the time of Herod, the Jewish rebels flee from burning Jerusalem and take shelter in what they believe to be an impregnable fortress.
Yeah.
Okay, so well protected with a water system that could supply water to last a long siege. But the Romans eventually come after them. The whole 10th Legion, in fact, is sent for this mission. Around the site to this day, you can see 8 camps, right?
It's amazing.
This is Camp F by the labeling of Yadin and his team. This is perhaps where Flavius Silva, the commander of the 10th Legion, sat and commanded the creation of a ramp which will reach the top of Masada to knock it down, to conquer it.
They wanted to come out here to Masada and crush the last remaining
No
rebels.
no one is going to escape the Roman punishment for rebellion.
Yeah,
You don't pay your taxes, you're going to pay for this.
with your
Okay?
lives.
You don't submit to the yoke of the Roman authority.
Yeah.
You're going to either lose your head or be enslaved.
Yeah.
And a whole 10th Legion plus auxiliary forces were probably sent here. By the size of the camps, we think that some 7,000 men were brought here to conquer the place.
And they were out here for a long time, and it was hot, and I'm sure they were miserable and angry and ready to storm this fortress.
They were quite upset, I'm sure,
Yeah.
the Roman forces for this specific task. They were probably eager to get it done as quickly as possible and get out of here. They're coming here also at the spring.
Yeah.
Josephus doesn't actually tell us how long the siege took place, but it does tell us that it was in the springtime, which means water, rain, maybe in 9 months.
Yeah.
The closest water source is in Gedi, there in the horizon. It's a 6 hours walk from here. The rebels had plenty of water from last winter. The Romans had to make sure that they get water and food to last here. So they were determined to get the job done and as quickly as possible, and they did it.
Coming up, the Second Temple is destroyed by the Romans, and Masada becomes a last stand for the Jewish resistance. It's The Watchman, it's Kufi, only right here on TBN.